It's the London Lowdown.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good Friday. We're joined here today by the Leicester LTID podcast host and founder, Chris. And then also from Leicester LTID, we have Brad here. And also joining us for his first podcast is Evan, who is also a Chelsea fan. How are you doing this evening, guys?
Yeah, no, all good now. Dull day, kind of starting to rain there now, but sure, look, we'll tip on.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the nerves are just starting to kick in, because especially for me, because this is the first time I've ever seen us in a FA Cup final, and I very much know the history of our unfortunate run in terms of FA Cup finals. So I'm getting anxious, but in a good way tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look,
nervous doesn't come close to it, though, does it, Brad? You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
I'm older, and I remember the last FA. I mean, I was 8 last time we were in the FA Cup in '69. So, I mean, my
18.
memory of it is 8. Bugger off you, 8. And I was you're 2021, mate. Don't you ever go at my age? No, it was. I don't remember it as I just. Remember it as being on and happening and people talking about it. But yeah, I'm like Brad. Nerves are kicking in.
Yeah, no, I like even for myself now. Chelsea are not shy of a final, like, do you know what I mean? But even I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit nervous myself for. It is a strong squad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, obviously, kind of Evan, I suppose. What kind of makes us a small bit more nervous is last year, like getting to the final, we're favourites against Arsenal as well, and we're getting caught there. So
yeah, it was disastrous. Like,
yeah, 100%. Look, guys, I think you have a big fan in the comments there. Miss Melina is obviously leaving her comments in. I hope you're having a good evening, Melina. She says it here. Then again, obviously, nice to see Leicester Till I Die TV on the panel. My favourite football foxes channel on YouTube. So
she's an honorary fox, isn't she, Brad?
Yeah, we've adopted. We offered cookies, like the dark side do. It won her over when Arsenal lost. It worked a treat.
That's good. Yeah, no, good to see. Good to see her in the comments tonight. Obviously, again, William, an Arsenal fan, beat us in the final last year. William's in the comments tonight, and then obviously Melina says she knows William as well. But just to get to the last comment there before we move on with the show. Stephen Collins saying I had Fox's royalty with me tonight. Yeah, definitely do. We're really happy to have the guys on. Obviously, Chris has been on before. This is Brad's first show with us. We really enjoyed having Chris on the last time. Felt it was a really good show. We spoke obviously about the kind of top 4 run-in and Chelsea and Leicester, and we're really happy to have Brad on again tonight with us, coming in with Chris. We really appreciate the guys coming on. Look, I suppose before we we'll touch on something quickly before we get to the FA Cup final. Just kind of like the results during the week, and obviously both teams are in top 4 race. With Liverpool winning last night, it's kind of dragging Chelsea and Leicester back into it. If Liverpool win their 2 games, obviously one of us has to miss out. With the way it's calculated mathematically, because we have to play each other next on Tuesday night. Guys, obviously I'll go to you first, Chris. Are you confident of getting top 4?
I think we said when we had a quick chat before we came live, I personally would give up top 4 for the FA Cup, definitely. So that's where my priorities lie. If we don't get the top 4 when we're 5th or 6th, I think that would be then the main Europa League, which FA Cup and Europa League, I again wouldn't be sort of disappointed with at all. But I think, to be honest with you, I think there's more pressure on Chelsea because it's Chelsea. You lost in the FA Cup final last year. I think you'd have been a lot happy. Well, obviously you'd have been a lot happier if United had beat Liverpool. And I think Tuchel now is looking over his shoulder, thinking, "Hang on, what's more important for me, winning the FA Cup or beating Leicester on Tuesday and getting the 3 points to solidify the top 4 place?" It might even affect, his actual team selection.
Yeah, look, we've seen it, I suppose, against Arsenal the other night. 7 changes. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Tuchel. I think he's a great manager. But 7 changes the other night, and you can see it kind of in our play. Our play was very broken, and it probably cost us the game really, because we battered Arsenal, but we just couldn't put the ball in the net, and we were missing those kind of players. But it'll be interesting to see what lineup he goes with tomorrow. Obviously, we know Kepa and Kante are definitely starting, but apart from that, who knows what way he's going to go.
Can I make one request though?
Yeah.
Whoever it was that did that back pass, can you make sure he's playing as well?
Jorginho.
He definitely deserves a start that, because that's charitable, giving that goal to Arsenal the way he did.
Yeah.
Very kind of him.
But Arsenal nearly missed it. That was the funny thing. They went in off the big wide open goal, and he went in off the post.
Yeah.
But if he's playing, please. You know.
I think he will be playing, because Kovacic has only come back from injury today, so I presume Kovacic will probably see him from the bench. Another comment again from Stephen. Obviously, Brad, great to see you drinking out of the Holy Grail. I'm guessing Stephen's watches your shows a lot, guys. Obviously a Leicester fan. You know Stephen, would you?
Yeah, there's a few regular names that tend to pop up. It's good to see the support following through.
Yeah, that's great.
Make sure while you're here, guys, to hit their subscribe buttons as well while you're here. Support these guys out as well, because they've been kind enough to have us on, and it's a good show so far. I'm enjoying it.
So look, Brad, top 4. Are you confident, or like Chris, would you kind of prioritise the FA Cup?
I have been put in the position when the media's when Leicester have always dropped points throughout the season at any point, especially near the end. The media have always referred back to last season, and obviously, you know, Chris has brought that up to me, and I've always turned around and said the thing I think is different to this year compared to last year is we are more consistent, and we have been throughout the season. We've been more consistent than Chelsea, granted. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Lampard is held a lot accountable for that in Chelsea fans' eyes. Not all of them, but the majority of them, from what I read, say that. Mm-hmm. We've been more consistent than Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Everton and West Ham, and I don't see that changing with 2 games to go. I know, obviously, there's 3 games for others and whatnot. I just don't see enough change where we drop enough points and they make up the difference. Because it's not just one team catching us. There's 3 teams fighting amongst themselves for that 4th spot.
Yeah.
You know, as well as us. So I think we can do both. And I think if we beat Chelsea in the FA Cup, it's funny, isn't it? Because Friday we were bottling it. We weren't after the Newcastle game. And now Chelsea know that if they lose to us in the FA Cup, if they lose to us again in the league, they can't catch us.
Yeah.
And then you know what I mean? That's like, all of a sudden it's completely flipped. Tuchel was God and couldn't do anything wrong, and now Brendan's the lads have fixed a mistake from Friday, and all of a sudden Chelsea are in a different ball game after losing to Arsenal. It's going to be interesting, but I think we can still do for top 4 and take the cup home.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like your team is well capable of doing that. You've seen kind of some of the games he turned up in this year. Obviously, when the one that comes to mind is when he whacked City 5-2. That was a statement as well. But just kind of coming to Stephen's comments there is actually what I was going to touch on. The only thing that kind of worries me about Tuesday is realistically, I think Leicester only really need a draw against us.
Yeah.
If you stop us from going ahead Tuesday night, I think you can get a result against Spurs in the last game to stay ahead. I just don't think we'll catch you. We have to win Tuesday night as well. That's the problem with the Arsenal result.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and I think that would actually suit Leicester going into that game. And I think it's, like I said, I think it just shows how funny and amazing this game can be at times. Because, like I said, no earlier than Friday, Leicester were the team in trouble, and now, although Chelsea, I wouldn't say you're in trouble. Yeah. It's funny how, because the 2 teams meet in consecutive weeks, all of a sudden Leicester are the team that is favourable for the FA Cup with the neutrals. So it's more desirable for Leicester to win. Obviously, I'm not saying that we will win it, but obviously it seems, like a fairy tale plays out. And I know fairy tales don't always have a happy ending, but this one kind of works, that it can be a complete contrast to how last season ended. Imagine Leicester, after what they went through at the end of the season and how we fell apart, end this season with their first FA Cup, and then with 1 game to go, secure top 4 and put another team in in their position, where they're the ones being hunted. And I think that would just show how quickly and how well the collective unit of Brendan and his backroom staff and the players have done over the course of 12 months.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Say back a month ago, when you were actually doing well enough, when you were in like the third place there, I would have been one of the ones that would have thought you were going to drop out. Obviously, with the kind of the history of last year and stuff, I just had that feeling again. But you've actually stayed. I know you lost to Newcastle and you had to slip up there, but you've been fairly consistent over the season. And like I can see, like, obviously the Liverpool result last night kind of throws a different spin on things for both clubs, but it's you could definitely do it, especially just needing a draw. Just needing a draw Tuesday.
Yeah, and let's remember Liverpool and West Ham, they need maximum points to overturn us as well. That's a big factor now, and that's something that, you know, we've seen in seasons gone by. Just because these teams have got nothing to play for, relegated, they don't have cause an upset. I mean, before we all went live here, Newcastle are drawing 2-2 with Man City.
Yeah,
I know Newcastle have been informed, but you think Man City would go out and cruise that game because they've got the title, but the last I knew it was 2-2. So so you just don't know. Anything's still possible, but I'd rather be in our position than theirs.
Yeah, definitely. I'd rather be there than chasing. Evan, obviously from a Chelsea point of view, are you confident to get in top four?
Well, like I said, Sean, and Chris and Brad kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, it is the pressure is on Chelsea. Like, Tuchel has a lot to think about. Does he go full whack for the final, and then, do you know what I mean, kind of risk the top four?
Mm-hmm.
And with the Champions League coming up then soon enough as well, do you know what I mean? It's how to place players, like, and where to rest them, and it is a tough decision that he has to face. Like, but, and like I said to Chris and Brad before coming in, I'm really not confident, like, because what really scares me is the strike force of Iheanacho and Vardy. Like, their record throughout the season, it's consistent. Like, Leicester are consistent, and I said at the start when someone was talking about it, they're a dark horse. They are a complete dark horse this season. Everyone was talking about Arsenal are useless, Liverpool are useless, City, United, this and that. No one was talking about Leicester, and I was like, lads, it's right in front of us. They've been up in the top four, I think, nearly the whole season.
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
We have been in the top four all season. We're the only team that has not been out of the top four all season.
Exactly.
And the only reason we're not being talked about is because everybody likes to talk about the big six, you know. Let's be honest with you. If Sky was any further up Chelsea's arse and Arsenal's arse and Man United's arse, they'd be coming out of your mouth. But, you know, at the end of the day, it does annoy me this, but at the end of the day, you know, people are saying, you know, Leicester have got a hard finish, Leicester have got a hard run in. Why? We're playing you guys. You've been above us in the league, I think, for 1 week or possibly 2 weeks. Apart from that, we've always been above you. We're playing Tottenham, who probably not even going to get in the Europa Conference this season. Why? You know, we played Man United, who we'd beat in the FA Cup a few weeks ago. Why is that a hard run in for us? It's not. We're a top five side now. I'm not saying we're one of the big six, because we never will be in the media's eyes. It might then become a top seven. But, you know, your team should be as scared and as frightened of playing us as we used to be of playing you.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, we saw some unforeseeable results, like losing to Arsenal, do you know what I mean? Liverpool beating United. It is,
West
like I said before,
Chelsea.
Like, it is scary.
Newcastle beating us.
Yes.
And now you have Chelsea, Leicester, Liverpool, West Ham fighting for that fourth spot, like third and fourth. Do you know what I mean? It's tough to think about, and Chelsea have a lot on their mind. Like I said, Champions League final, this, and then the top four. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot to think about.
Yeah. One thing I actually will say, obviously Leicester winning the league a couple of years ago really impressed me. Obviously it was out of the ordinary, but what's nearly impressed me as much as that is how, since Leicester have won the league, how you've actually stayed up there and stayed consistent. Like a lot of clubs, I think, well, at the time, with the kind of stature that you had, obviously you finished down near relegation the season before. You could have won that league title and you could have catapulted and gone back down the other end of the table. But
we did. That's what people forget. After we won the league, Ranieri was sacked because we were sat, I think, third or fourth from bottom. I think we were actually in the relegation zone at one point. We had the worst record of defending the Premier League title in table position wise than any other club has ever done. Liverpool have got it this season, I think, with the loss of points, but we had it with where we finished the following season. We were 11th. Then the season after that, under Prel, we were, top again. It's only since Rodgers has come in. We've had a couple of bad years, haven't we, Brad, between winning it and Rodgers kind of reigniting it. There weren't relegation things, but they nearly were with Claudio. As much as I love the guy,
Yeah.
I mean, there was obviously that fall away that you said, Chris, but in regards to, I've seen a lot of other clubs, Ipswich is a mainstay one that's in mind, Portsmouth, and that when they've got into Europe and done stuff like that and had good seasons, that their crash can come within the first 2 years. I think we needed to stable to do what we've done. It's been a slower progression than we probably wanted, but we have made that progression.
I will say though that once after you won that, the club did get kind of ransacked. Like players were getting bought up, like Samaras to City, Kante to Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of a hit, and then manager getting sacked then as well. It was, do you know what I mean?
Kante walked out on us to go to Chelsea. Kante would not have come to us, I don't think, and we all got different opinions on this. Kante was a Pearson signing, and then Pearson got sacked or resigned, whatever way you want to look at it. And he had the sellout clause in his contract. And I don't think Kante particularly wanted to come once he knew sort of what was going on. And obviously, yes, he gave us a good season, but he was a mercenary. As soon as he could jump ship, he could. And again, as much as I love him for being part of that team, and I would do the same if I was in my job, but I'm speaking as a fan now, and I see him as a mercenary. Mahrez at least signed a new contract, gave us a year in the Champions League, gave us a year after that. Then, of course, he threw his toys out the pram and went and sat at airports on transfer deadline day waiting for the telephone call. But it was only really those two, and it was only really Kante that left straight away.
Yeah, the season after, Kante left straight away in that summer. Look, I'm not complaining. I'm very happy we got him.
Yeah, he done the right thing, in fairness. Like you said,
there were strong reports that there was a deal in place with Chelsea where Chelsea actually wanted to let Leicester go through with the deal so they could see what he was like, and there was an agreement because he had a buyout clause, didn't he? Which which in fairness to Kante, he personally came out and said Chelsea have to match this, because I think originally Chelsea were rumoured to have gone 5 million under the asking price. Well, his release clause, and Kante went, "I want to join Chelsea, but I'm not disrespecting Leicester. So if Chelsea don't think I'm worth the release clause, I'm happy to stay." So I've got to give Kante a bit of credit for that, because I know it might sound like it's easy to say, but if Chelsea didn't think he was worth the, what was it, 30 million?
32, yeah.
Yeah, if you hadn't have thought, oh, all right, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give another season because we've still got a couple, that release clause is in play. You obviously saw, and that's testament to his quality, that Chelsea went, all right, fine, 32 million. We'll pay it happily. There wasn't a begrudgment about it. And then obviously that told Kante that they thought he was worth the money. I mean, the funniest part of that deal, he only went for 2 million more than Danny Drinkwater, didn't he? Yeah. So we did get our revenge.
Yeah, so
that's a Danny Drinkwater money.
I think he actually I suppose Kante actually joined us before Drinkwater, I think, but I suppose you might have felt aggrieved. Yeah, you might have felt aggrieved, so you got one back over on us. Look, kind of speaking about kind of players going from team to team, question here from Keane, from me and Evan. So what players would you take from Leicester for your starting 11 at Chelsea, Evan?
I've been actually waiting for this, and I've done out a kind of a list, and I have been ridiculed for this, and I will say one name is Ndidi, and I have been mentioning this in a group chat before, and I think he is the next Kante. I know he's 24 years old. He's not
No, he is the
very
next
good.
Kante. I'll stand by you with that one, mate. He is the next Kante.
I truly think he's underrated. He's the next Kante. I can see it. Like, and yes, like I said, people have been saying he's 24 years old and he's not very good in the ball. But like, I think he can be developed more. And I really think if he came to a bigger club, I'm not saying Leicester are a small club now, but if he went to the likes of Chelsea, like Kante
What
did,
makes
I
Chelsea
really
a bigger
think.
club?
Oh,
Money?
they've won a few more the things
Do
than
we
us
really
over
want to
the
get
week.
into that argument? Like, do we really want to get into that argument? But like, if he came, just let's say for argument's sake, he came to Chelsea and went in beside Kante in the midfield role. I just think that the pair together would be a force. Like,
Yeah, definitely. And look, to be honest with you,
Then again, I mean, if you're in Europa League and don't win any of your trophies, you might get Kante and Ndidi, but just not the way you're thinking.
Yeah, look, I think one of the kind of the big needs in the Chelsea team at the moment is another centre midfielder. Obviously, I'd really like Declan Rice there, but I just think that we don't have, like, Kante is obviously a top player, but between the kind of options we have, the 4 options, we're just kind of missing that one player like a Rice or an Ndidi that's a bit of a destroyer and can kind of physically match teams up. I just don't think we have that there. I suppose, look, from Leicester's team as well, I know he hasn't played in a while because of injury, but I'd really love James Justin at Chelsea. I think Justin's a very good player, and look, I do rate Chilwell. I think Chilwell's decent, but I think Justin can be that level above Chilwell.
That just a small bit better.
Yeah, small bit better. I just like, obviously you watch James Justin week in, week out. How kind of impressive he been with his progression with Leicester?
Well, let me put it this way: we weren't bothered. I mean, I didn't. You know, a lot of Leicester fans, as Brad will say, seem to take against Chilwell for some reason. I like Chilwell. He was England's regular left back. He did what was asked of him. But we weren't sorry to see him go because we'd got James Justin, and he's going to be as good. It's not going to be as good as Chilwell. I think he's going to be better than Chilwell in the long term. It's just a shame if he hadn't got injured. It'd have been my player of the season. Might still be, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I actually think we've got 2 left backs that are better than Chilwell. And when I say better, I don't mean that in disrespect to Chilwell, because he's England's left back. He is a good left back. People take the mick. But I think both Thomas and James Justin will be far better left backs for Leicester, because I've seen all 3 of them play regularly. Obviously, Chris will have as well. Play for Leicester, and I've still seen Chilwell play for Chelsea on numerous occasions when they've let down my accumulators, but that's neither here nor there. And I think Chelsea fans have seen the frustration that Leicester had with him. He doesn't always, for whatever reason, it seems to be something that happens during the week. I don't know what it is, but sometimes he just does not believe in his own ability to go forward. It doesn't seem to. It seems like sometimes it's there, and then his bravery just goes. Whereas we've got a fearless 19-year-old at left back, making him look worse and worse each week. To how Leicester fans remember Chilwell, because Chilwell would just stop, and that's what frustrated you.
It's actually something I've noticed this year watching Chelsea. Like I said, I like Chilwell, but the one point that really frustrates me is I think he slows down a lot of attacks. There's opportunities there where he can overlap or he can carry the ball forward and he'll turn back and play it back to the centre back, and it's very frustrating to watch. I think Chelsea just aren't, like, out in that wing when he's playing. They aren't direct enough. They're not going at teams enough when he's there. But that's actually a point that you mentioned there that I completely agree with on Chilwell.
He plays the kind of safe ball kind of.
Yeah, I mean, his thing is you see with even on the right side, because obviously he's played on there, and Castagne is another one that I think is brilliant for us on the right with Ricardo. They do the same thing when kind of you need to recycle. Your route blocked to a forward pass. Instead of going backwards like Chilwell does, we now find ourselves. They're trying to find a midfielder, so they're still trying to keep that tack alive, even if they're halted in their tracks. And the way they've developed. I just felt that that's why I feel maybe it's a bit harsh on Chilwell to say, James Justin, we maybe see him in a better light because we're Leicester fans and obviously he plays for us. And over time, I think he will replace Chilwell. But I think purely the reason I say Thomas is better than him is because he's a better fit for Leicester for that reason and that reason alone.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
no,
he's not.
that's fair
He
enough.
is a great left back.
In regard to Thomas, I haven't seen enough of him to say he's better. I think it's too early in his career. James Justin is further down his career. He's had the grounding at Luton before he came to Leicester.
Fit.
You know,
Better fit, not as better per se as Chilwell in where he is and what he can do on the pitch, but he's better fit for Leicester. Sorry, I meant Thomas was a better fit for Leicester than Chilwell.
Yeah. Right. Look, there's probably 2 or 3 more players that I take from Leicester. I really like Schmeichel. Tielemans is a good player, but I suppose the last one I can kind of speak on, I'd love at Chelsea, and he's only been with you a short week, is Fofana. He only came in the summer. I think he's been fantastic this season.
Everybody says Fofana.
He's brilliant. He's a brilliant player. Like
the funny thing is about Leicester, and Brad will know this, is that people seem to think that we are other clubs' feeder clubs. You know, every year we seem to want to sell players, Maguire, Chilwell, and you know they look at who we can buy because we've got a fan. We had under Pearson and Walsh, we had a fan. You know, we got the likes of Kante, Mahrez, team players like that, and now we're getting the likes of Castagna, Fofana. They're out there, and you guys need to be questioning your recruitment side as to why you're not finding them. And I'll tell you why. It's because Abramovich doesn't want an untested 19-year-old. He wants to pay 30-40 million for somebody a lot older and tested. But then you think you can come to Leicester and go, oh, it's only Leicester, we'll buy them. Well, you know, it's a wake-up call now because every team in that Premier League has got money. West Bromwich Albion turned down 30 million for Johnny Evans from Man City in January because they were fighting relegation and they didn't need to sell him because of the money they were getting, even finishing where they were. We then got him for 3 million at the end of the season after they'd gone down. But clubs have got the money. And, you know, you can probably have Fofana, but you're going to have to pay for him. You know, you're going to have to pay like 50 million for Chilwell. Was Chilwell worth 50 million? I liked him, but no. Maguire, was he worth 80 million? Like him, but no. And, you know, so, you know, and it's not, I'm not having to go at you guys for saying you'd want him in your team, but these are all players that are being linked away from us.
Yeah.
And just touching on what you say, Chris, about Abramovich wanting 30, 40 million players that are already developed. It brings me to, sorry to go off topic, but I really need to touch on this. So it brings me to the player, and you'll always see me in the comments on the devil advocate and all that crack, is Billy Gilmore. I think Billy Gilmore, if he developed Billy Gilmore up and gave him the game time that I think he deserves and the credit he does, I really think he'd be a really, really decent midfielder.
Yeah, Gilmore has so much talent.
I think Chelsea fans say the same about Hudson-Odoi, and he's not quite cracked it yet.
Yeah, it's slightly different, I think, in the fact that I know obviously we're not seeing.
Do you reckon it has something to do with you swapping managers every 6 months?
Yeah.
As well.
But so just to interrupt it, Man City are 4-3 up at Newcastle.
Jesus.
Oh, geez.
I went 5-2 in the predictions. I was close.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, unfortunately got me, but yeah. But do you not think Chelsea? You know, like I said, I've not seen a manager apart from Frank Lampard because he had to because he got the transfer ban that actually used the kids at Chelsea and didn't just loan them out to other places, which is what they seem to do. And you did all right with the kids. You got to third in the league.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of it comes from up above, from the board pressure, and it's not the exact same situation with as the youngsters, but you'll see tomorrow now Kepa's starting in the FA Cup. A lot of talk of that being pressure from higher above on Tuchel to play him throughout the FA Cup. Obviously, we're going to want to sell Kepa in the summer, but if he's not playing, his value is not going to go up. He's not going to be in that shop window, and
exactly,
I think him playing tomorrow is kind of another indication of that, like what you're touching on with the younger players. Over the years, none of the managers played him there. Obviously, we know the Chelsea job is you could be there one day and sack the next, and I think a lot of them go with experience. But look, if Tuchel can get a bit of a run, I think he'll keep a lot of them youngsters in and around the squad.
I've got to ask you a question though here. What's going to happen tomorrow if Tuchel wants to take Kappa off for penalties?
Hopefully it won't be another instance of Kepa throwing a tantrum in the field.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mentioned this a while ago.
I'm 16. I've never seen anything like that at all in a game.
I can't believe
I'll be honest with you, it made Chelsea a bit of a laughing stock.
Big time. I totally agree. And what I said as punishment, he should have been left to rot in the fucking reserves. Sorry for cursing now, but a punishment should have been given.
I wouldn't have even insulted your reserves by letting him play for them. I'd have said to him on his own.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe my eyes, and yeah, like you said, out of all the football he's seen ever since I was a kid, and that, it's just I didn't think I've ever seen anything like that. And we see a lot of crazy things in football.
If you hadn't paid 70 million for him, Abramovich would have paid for his contract to be cancelled if he did that.
Yeah,
I reckon he knew full well he could do that because you're going to have to play him getting back on the shelf, aren't you?
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Look, I'll just touch on. There's a few comments that are coming in there. I'll touch on just kind of, I suppose, what Chris spoke about there in your recruitment, and Brad went through it as well. Steve says the recruitment after Claudio left has been second to none. I even today, obviously, you see the talks coming out. You're getting Samari for under £20 million. I know a lot of people might think he's an unknown quantity, and they might not have seen him playing, but I think I've seen him about 9 or 10 times myself. He played against Chelsea last year, and he was very good, very good centre mid. I think he's obviously Kante and Ndidi are similar enough, but Ndidi has that physical presence that Kante maybe doesn't have, but Samari kind of has that in his locker as well, and I think he could be a very good signing for you at that price.
Yes, especially if the rumours of January, which, well, I say rumours, that were pretty much confirmed by Brendan. If Chowdhury's to go, and although no discredit to Mendy, who's done a brilliant job when called upon to replace Ndidi, in my opinion, especially this season, I think now, with growth with development comes growth, doesn't it? And you've got to keep building on what you're doing. And I think the one thing that maybe teams like Chelsea, Man City, obviously, but they're on a different planet. But Liverpool have the edge over us that we need to chip away at now is our depth. I mean, look at the subs that came on in the game against Manchester United. We had to go with Perez, who isn't. He divides the fans. He's Marmite, in my opinion. I feel like that's the best way to describe Perez at Leicester. We had to have him in the starting 11 against Manchester United and bring on Maddison. They chucked on Cavani and Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. You know what I mean? And that's the gap that Leicester are looking to fill in. If we're getting another excited signing for 20 million of that quality to be in and around the likes of what's already there, is exactly the perfect step we need to be making.
Brad, do you think? I mean, I personally hope Chowdhury goes. I mean, I just think he's broke rules twice, and his off-field activities. He thinks he's better than he is. So I'd be quite happy to see him leave the club. Do you think if we sign this guy, and let's face it, Fofana's giving him the thumbs up, although he later deleted the tweet afterwards. But do you think we'll keep Mendy as well as a squad player?
Possibly a squad player. We've done really well and managed Europa League and football. Well, we've definitely managed a European football a lot better this season than we did our first season. Obviously, the golfing class from that squad that played in the Champions League and the Premier League that season to the class we have developed and brought is quite big, and it's a drastic change in squad. So we're a lot better prepared. So I think the better resources we have behind us for a season like that again, this season, Europa League, we got to knockouts. We kind of burnt out a little bit, and that maybe helps us with the cup run. So we was able to go all the way in one competition, probably not the one we was hoping for or expecting, but it's still very nice. It's still obviously probably just as equal to have got to Euro. If we'd have got to the Europa League final instead of the FA Cup final. If you've got that extra quality of depth that you're rotating in, with the way the FA and whoever else like to change fixture lists and give you like 3 games in 2 days, the way they've done it this season, to try and get everything in, it's good to have a better quality of depth. A third option's never always a bad one because we've seen the crop of injuries that teams have suffered this season. And I don't think that just changes just because there's a full pre-season. That will affect some players for the next season and a half. We know these big injuries can sometimes lead to recurring injuries. I'd rather have 3 central defensive midfielders than 2.
And hopefully we're going to have, Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and the Premier League as well. I'm sorry, I'm not taking over, but Brad, would you sooner keep Chowdhury or Mendy?
Mendy, because he shows he's got the commitment to it, and he signed that contract off what Rodgers told him. I think he's buying into his role now.
Yeah. As a neutral, I'd take Mendy over Chowdhury as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree.
And I haven't seen him as much as you have, but from what I have seen, he's not entirely a bad player. Mendy, I think he'd be good to have in around the squad.
No, and to be fair, I remember against Man City, I even said you wouldn't been able to tell the difference between him and Ndidi because he went forward with the ball. He made that clever turn, I think, for one of Vardy's goals. He made a turn that you'd expect Ndidi to do and Kante to do, but no one else. And he has got it in his locker.
Yeah,
so
definitely,
he's definitely a very good choice. But if you bring in another one, it's up to Mendy. Then that might be Mendy that says, "I don't want to be in that role."
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I suppose look from Melina there. We're going to touch on this later on. I suppose on the show, just to combine next one. We'll come back to that comment later on when we're kind of speaking about lineups and that for tomorrow's big game. It's like just we're talking about Justin that earlier before we move on from this kind of topic. Like Keane said there, he'd love Justin at right back for United as well. I think like Wan-Bissaka obviously is a good defender, but when you're kind of at a club like United, I know he's been okay going forward this year, but you need kind of that extra level going forward, and I don't think Wan-Bissaka offers that. Obviously another comment there from Stephen when I was speaking about who he'd like from the Spurs X1. He says, "Put the shopping trolley away, we ain't selling." Look, from speaking to Chris,
supermarket sweep.
From speaking to Chris on the last pod before we went live and everything, I completely agree. And the fact that Leicester aren't one of those sides that are going to have their pants pulled down when it comes to transfers. You don't struggle for money. You don't need to sell players to keep the club afloat. You're very well run, so you're in that position kind of to ask for big money for players, and it's never going to be easy to get a player from Leicester. Obviously, you've seen with Chilwell 50, even Danny Drinkwater was 30 at the time. Maguire 80. Maguire is a good player, but not worth 80 million.
He's nowhere near worth 80 million. Not a
and the thing that bugs me, just to quickly touch on that, is Chris shared it for us on our Facebook and Instagram and all that, and it went on for our website as well. Was that Leicester, how they sold a squad for X amount of million, the money they made off Kante and Mahrez and etc., and how they built a squad that's now worth 400 million. I think it was a paper article. And it still really pissed me off because speaking of the deals that Leicester have made over the last 2 years, like the Maguire ones and all that, and the Chilwell ones, like you've mentioned tonight, we paid 40 million for Fana, and they're saying, "Oh, Leicester would sell him 50." Like, no, we wouldn't. What makes you think on this planet, if we're able to get Manchester United to foot the bill for 80 million for Maguire, I'm telling you now, if you want for Fana, fine, but he's probably. I'm not even kidding. He's probably 80 million.
He'll be more expensive than Maguire.
He's only just got here. You know what I mean? He's only just got in a big contract. I mean, excuse my French, but in fact, I'll try not to swear. Flip me. Spurs to get our manager out of his contract and loyalty is 70 million. If we're not going to let you have a manager for 70 million, why would you let you have a 19-year-old or 20-year-old centre back that's world class?
That's what I was like. From my side, like I was thinking for Fana, like you might
because if he was at your club, he would be valued straight off, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Evan as well. Like I was going to say, like the starting price at least, the starting negotiations would be 80 million for Fofana, and that's not saying you'll get him for 80, but that's surely the starting point. And it's not a dig at Maguire at all, because Maguire obviously starts for England. He's a decent centre back. He's decent at organising. But Fofana, like you said, big contract. He's only 19. Like the level that he can reach is ridiculous. Maguire was what when he sold him 25? Was he around 25 or was he younger?
Something like that, yeah, about that age, yeah.
like he has the age on his side, so like you're at least talking 80 mil for from Leicester. Like obviously, like I said, you don't need money, so like
But
there's
like
no
the thing is, that 80 million, like you're not just paying for what he is now, you're paying for what he is in the future as well. Like, so
yeah.
you're taking
And
a
that's what
risk. Like,
Leicester do. Yeah, because eventually, if Maguire does get a stronger centre back partner, he could become that 80 million that Manchester United can
exactly,
pay for it.
he'll be worth that 80
And
million.
Leicester knew that. Leicester weren't thinking, what's he worth now? They're thinking, what's he going to be worth?
But
You
the
know,
thing
and
is
that's
that
what it took
it's a
for
big
them.
if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
look-
the if that you've got to take as the people that want to buy him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're willing to take that, then Leicester,
Yeah.
that's the only time we're happy to sell.
And look, kind of, I suppose Leicester talking about Leicester, like clubs thinking they can take players off Leicester and stuff. Leicester are third in the table at the moment. You're in an FA Cup final. You're in a very good position. Obviously, apart from like maybe your Man Cities, why would you want to leave Leicester at the moment? Especially at 19 years of age when you're starting week in, week out. I don't think anyone can take Fofana from Leicester now at the moment. And rightfully so, like, because I think Leicester are breaking into that. Like Chris said there, it's never going to be Leicester as part of the big six. If Leicester are up there, it's going to be the big seven. You know how the media are. But I think Leicester are right in there and they deserve to be in the big seven. And I'd actually like to see a lot of their players staying and see you build something. It'd be very good to have Leicester in and around there every season. It's good. Like this year, we've seen obviously Liverpool had the bad run. They're not in the top four at the moment. They might finish there, but at the moment they're not. Chelsea aren't guaranteed. It's Spurs and Arsenal are way down the table. It's good to see. It's like a breath of fresh air to have another club up here for the last 2 or 3 years, and hopefully stay up there again for years to come. I'd like to see West Ham stay there as well, but
it's difficult because you look at, players are only the same as us, and if I get offered more money to go to another company in my job, would I do it? Yes, I would. 9 times out of 10, and if a player will look at it, and I think they'll look at, and I don't, the fact that they're going to go and sit on the bench if they go to a bigger club doesn't really matter to them anymore as long as they're getting the money. And we've got to remember that these guys' careers are only short careers.
Yeah.
But I think what you've got with Leicester is it's not just about the team; it's about the club. It's from the owners, all the way down, and we'll learn which players are looking at the career more than the pockets over the next few years to see that who wants to leave and who wants to stay.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on what you said, Sean, and you said, Chris, earlier, is the big six. Like, what defines the big six? Like, to me, I would consider Leicester more of a candidate for a big six position than what Tottenham are now. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but like I would consider Leicester more of a big six potential than Tottenham.
To be fair, like Spurs haven't won like the Premier League title. Leicester have won it there. You've been up in and around it the last couple of years. I know Spurs got to a Champions League final, but like I think if you're looking at it right now, the only thing the Spurs have is a fancy stadium.
Exactly.
I mean, and let's face it, imagine breaking Alan Shearer's goal scoring record and turning around and realising there's a 19-year-old that's probably going to have more trophies than you in his cabinet.
Yeah.
And he plays for a team that wasn't classed as the big six.
There's an argument. The argument is there, like, if you want to look at history, if you want to look at trophies, you know what I mean? If there's stats there to prove that, like, Leicester are just that more better of a candidate for a big six, like.
Yeah. You can't go on something that was done over years. You've got to place it on current. It's updating. Yeah. You update a table. You know what I mean?
But even if you want to go on that basis, Leicester is still better.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Like, I'm not going to argue with you, funny enough.
Like I don't think many people go.
What you have to look at as well from the media's point of view is it's all about selling their product and who's the bigger club around the world, and that's what I think that they look at. Yeah. That was the whole idea we took behind the ESL. It wasn't what was going on at Old Trafford on a Saturday. It was what was going on in the Far East and Japan and all those places, of where they sell it. And that's the trouble with Leicester. We're still the new boy at the table, but I think we could be pulling the chair up and getting comfy, don't you, Brad?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Like, I don't think many people look at it this way, but one of the big things for me, if I'm looking at kind of at the moment who I think is a bigger club, like it come the summer, if I was a player, who would I actually rather go to in the summer? If you had Spurs at the table or Leicester, and at this moment in time, I'd actually join that Leicester side before I would go to Spurs with the way Spurs are at the minute.
100%.
Mourinho gone. Obviously, they're still searching for a new manager. There's not much money there with the stadium they built. They're not going to be investing big in the summer. Obviously, they're down the table. Leicester are building something. They have a young side. Obviously, apart from Jamie Vardy and Johnny Evans, the rest are fairly young. You have like Tielemans, Fofana, and Didi still relatively young. Iheanacho. You're building a good young side there. Something I actually think Chelsea are doing at the moment now with the signings they brought in, and I think it's a lot more attractive to join Leicester right now than it would be to join Spurs. So I just don't think Leicester are far off like that. They should be in the big six, but I think
the way to look at it is obviously Leicester fans are actually ironically tell you they don't mind the media. We've actually quoted ourselves as #invisibles on social media. But in regards to, I think, on a fan base, I think as like speaking to neutrals and doing this has really showed how much actually things are noticed by the fans of other clubs at what happens with our club, with the development, how we operate in the transfer window, not just what we're doing in the league, but what we're doing behind the scenes. We've now got one of the top training facilities in Europe because of these owners. It's not for a loan. The first thing they did was take the loan off the American company that had our stadium and paid it off. They own that. That's our ground now. That was the first thing they gave back to us. And from other fans, just seeing them going, you are a top 4 club, that you as fans respect us more than the media ever will. We could win the FA Cup and we could get to the flipping final of the Champions League next season and finish top 4. We'd still not be considered a big 6 until, like Chris says, the financial twist in the worldwide market. But as fans, we are a big threat.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, like, obviously, like, it won't happen, but Leicester could go along and they could win 3 Premier League titles, and I'd still think that the narrative in the media they'd still have that underdog story. Even if you've won it 3 times in a row, they'd still spin the underdog story and how amazing it is.
Because
obviously,
it's a selling point for them. They can sell it. Whilst it's not got boring and stale, and all of a sudden they're pumping 500 million into the club each season. Like you said, it's still a story.
Yeah, definitely. Just William's comment there, we kind of touched on this earlier, guys. Obviously, would you rather lose the league game or the cup final? I think it kind of spun in different ways, obviously, from Chris. Well, obviously, Brad thinks that both can be done with Leicester. Chris said if he had to choose, he'd take the FA Cup final over the league game. And I suppose in Chelsea's kind of point of view, I'm not sure about Evan, but I'd rather win the league game, even though I know it's a cup final. I want that top 4 next season. Do you agree with that, William or Evan?
Yeah, like silverware is nice to take home, but you have to remember, we also have the Champions League there. We have a good chance at it, so we have 2 shots at silverware.
I think your board will make that call and tell.
I know I am, but I'm at Chelsea. I am going to be confident in my team. Like, do you know what I mean? As nervous as I am, I will stand it. But we've 2 chances to take home silverware. One obviously bigger than the other, and like Sean said, we want that top 4 as well. If all of it could be done, happy days. If we had to choose, I would agree with Sean. I would rather take that top 4 spot. Big time.
I just think if we're going to plug the gap between us and what Man City are right now, we need top 4 for the summer to have a good window again. To build on, if the targets that Chelsea want in the summer, obviously you'll see it in the media, and if we want to be signing the likes of Romelu Lukaku up front, we need to have Champions League football and the finances from that. So I just think if we don't get top 4, we don't close that gap next year to Man City. Obviously, it's a big ask. City are a very good side, but it can be done, I think, if we have Champions League football again next year. Obviously, Amy and Rory are in the comments again tonight. Hope you're having a good evening, guys. And then Steve is back in again, saying you learned your lesson from the Kante contract. I'm obviously on about the get-out clauses that Chris mentioned.
All the players had. That's why they got. It was also after the Vardy deal as well that never happened. That a lot of players had their contracts renewed and had them took out.
Yeah.
So we learned quick, and that's the one thing I will say again about this club. on the pitch, off the pitch, we have learned quickly from our mistakes, whether it's in the boardroom or on the pitch. We have learned quickly from our mistakes.
Yeah. Just to touch on Sean's comment as well, we were talking about Harry Maguire there. Obviously, we weren't disrespecting him or kind of writing him off or anything. But if they did get someone like Kunde, if they did get someone like Kunde, or like obviously I haven't seen as much of him as I'd like to, but someone along the lines of a defender who's a good centre back and has pace to play beside Maguire, I think it'd suit him a lot more than what Lindelof would. And then obviously we're talking about Spurs again. Stephen says they're a shambles from the top down. Who's going to be their next manager? I don't know. Like anyone they really,
not my issue.
Exactly,
an issue we've had many a time before. We don't care about other clubs' issues with the manager. We've suffered enough.
Yeah.
Peter Taylor, end of. We've suffered. We win for bad manager choices.
Look, I suppose. Look, we have the FA Cup final tomorrow. Obviously, Melina had a comment in there earlier on about the combined X1s. I suppose what we will do is we can talk about, if you want to give us kind of how you think Leicester are going to line up tomorrow. We can give kind of how we think both sides are going to line up, and we maybe might pick a combined 11 between the two sides of the players that we think will start.
I've got to be honest with you guys. I don't know enough about your players. Yeah, obviously I don't follow other teams, so I don't know enough about your players to even suggest who would get out. So I'll probably leave you with Brad when you get to that point, if that's okay.
I really think that the choosing of the combined 11, I really think there is going to be a bit controversial there. Not going to lie, I have a feeling.
It's actually two sides, I think, that have players. Like, I think Leicester have plenty of players that can get into our 11. It's different, like, I know Arsenal beat us the other night, but I think there's less of an argument with like a Chelsea 11 and an Arsenal 11 than there is with this. Look, I suppose, Chris and Brad, if you want to start off first, just kind of how do you think you're going to line up tomorrow?
A lot of people are expecting, if Evans is fit, we'll go with a back three, but I'd actually like us to line up and play the way we did against Manchester United, being a 4-4-2 and, starting the game out of possession and then switch it up when we're in attack, because it did work well against United, and I think that's something that Rodgers has wanted to implement, so he doesn't have to wait till half time. He's trying to get that flow right, and I think we'd start with a back two, because I don't think if Evans is, it all depends on Evans for me. If he's fit, I think we will probably go with what the fans start with. But if he's not 100%, you talk about keeping one eye on the league game and sealing top four. I'd rather Evans be 100% fit, because I've got full faith in Fofana and Solanke in a back four that's available to us. I'd go 4-4-2 with the flowing movement.
I would, and this is what I love about football, is that even within the same club, you get a difference of opinions. I know, I can see where Brad's coming from, but for me, and we talked about this in our show earlier that we did when we did the preview, and it's not often that me and my other co-host on that, Craig, agree, but we actually 100% agreed on this. So I think it's the first time all season. But that's sort of the 3-5-2, but when you're going forward, it's the 3-5-2, and when you're defending, it becomes a 5-3-2, if you like. And a lot will depend, as Brad said quite rightly, on if Evans is fit or not. But and what something that Craig said, which was a very good point, that if he isn't, then we should stick a Marty in the middle there, because as a central defender, he's good. As a right wing back, he's rubbish. You can't do it.
It's the FA Cup final. I do not want any experiments. I don't want Ndidi playing in goal.
Experiment. He was African Nations player of the tournament at centre back. He's not an experiment.
When? And how many games has he played at Leicester centre back, mate?
It's the FA Cup final. He's 4-4-2. Which went out with Dave Bassett and the film.
Yeah, but we're not doing that.
I used to play that at school when I was 16.
No, I want two very well and very engineered centre backs, or a back three that is consistently as best as possible the season played together. If it's not a back three, it's a back two. I don't want a Marty in there, not for an FA Cup final. I'm
Honestly,
sorry,
Not a
I
back
just don't.
two. You can't play a back two against a club
Well,
like
not
Chelsea.
I meant back
Sorry.
centre backs. Obviously, I'd have
Yeah.
left and right back. Sorry, I
But
meant
yeah,
like
okay,
centre.
you're back to your 4-4-2 then. But
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
football's about opinions, you know.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, of course.
Very true. Very
You know,
true.
honestly,
but in my opinion, Marty's a no-go if it's a 3 at back and Evans can't play.
Honestly, I think the back line.
In my opinion, you're wrong, but there we go.
I think the real big issue is the back line. I think the midfield and the two strikers, Iheanacho, Vardy, Perez, and Didi, Talisman, and Albrighton, I think is kind of a. To me, I think that's my opinion. I think that's the way it's going to line up, the 4-4-2.
No, I think it's going to be, if Evans is fit, it will be the back three of Soyuncu, the normal back three, Soyuncu, Evans, and Fofana. And I think if there's a slightest chance that Evans will be fit, he will play him because he knows what this means to Leicester fans. You know, winning an FA Cup.
If he doesn't concede a goal, though, I don't think he'll want to risk that if he's like 70, 80%. I think Rodgers would rather have him getting it. I just personally I don't think Rodgers would. I know Evans would want to play. He'd play with one leg. But I just feel that he'd go for safety.
I know the talking in the morning. I mean, I don't know if he's not fit now. Is he going to be any fitter in the morning? I don't get that. If he's not fit now, you make the decision now. You know whether he does or he doesn't. Like I said, but you see, I've gone for the fact that I'd sooner have the FA Cup than the league. So. If he is fit, I would put him in. I would have Luke Thomas as left wing back, Castagna as right wing back. I'd actually start Maddison because I think this is what he's been building up to. Sorry,
I get that, but I think we're.
Yeah.
I think
no. This is just what Leicester's lined up for me. Yeah.
I was losing myself in the conversation then. I thought, hold on, I've got we're on your show here. All of a sudden, me and Chris have a debate over it.
For me, I think
agree with that
this is the game that Maddison's been waiting for. You know, he loves this sort of stage. He hasn't been playing a full 90 minutes recently, and you know, Rodgers could have been easing him back in. My only worry with that is Maddison has been better, has he not, when he's been coming off the bench. So the other argument,
he has in recent weeks. Yeah.
But I don't know. I would start with Maddison. I've got to be honest with you. I think I'd give him the nod this time.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Obviously, I don't watch Leicester as much as you do. If you're going to play the back three and Johnny Evans isn't fit enough, is there a chance that Christian Fuchs plays centre back? I've seen him playing on the left side of the centre backs before. No.
For me, about 2 years ago, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I love Fuchs, but if he's going to do a defensive job, it's like Albrighton. He's not there for his quickness; he's there for his brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he hasn't. I mean, at the start of the season, bless him. I mean, he came on at the start of the season and he did what was asked of him, didn't he, Brad? Even he came on. You know, if we'd said to him, you know, you play in the dressing room cleaning the bogs out, he'd have done it for us. And he played more games in those first 9, you know, games of the season than he'd played probably in the previous 3. But he's not played since.
Yeah,
you know, the nearest he got was on the subs bench when Evans got injured in the warm up. So he hasn't that experience, so recent experience. So no, like Brad said there, love him too, but no. I must admit, I am waiting for the Wes Morgan doing the John Terry bit at the end and coming on with
I was actually going to ask
with the shirt on and lift the cup. Yes,
he's 36 now, is he? Wes Morgan, I think.
He's 36. He's injured. It's his last season. He won't be with us.
He's going upstairs. If rumours are to be true, the contract he's going to be signing will be a staff role.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
He's given his ears. Right. Yeah. He deserves it. Yeah. Look, Evan, I suppose it's quite obvious Chelsea are going to play 3 at the back again. I suppose we know two positions. Kepa is starting, Kante is starting.
Kante,
yeah. So obviously, go on, you go ahead there. What do you think?
I went was Aspa, Silva, and Rudiger. Then obviously James, Kante, and surprisingly enough, I went with Gilmore. Big Gilmore fan, as you know, and Chilwell. Then top front, Werner, Mount, and Havertz.
And Havertz in there,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too surprised with that at all. I'd love to see Gilmour starting like you.
I'd love it. I'd be over the moon.
I prefer Gilmour to Jorginho, but I just think kind of on the other night when we played Arsenal, when at half time when he kind of took out Gilmour rather than Jorginho, I think it's kind of small bit of an indication he might go with Jorginho in the final tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with you now.
Yeah,
coming off that Arsenal game, it annoyed me. That back pass annoyed me.
Yeah,
too
so
much. To add him in tonight, like it annoyed me too much.
Yeah, no. If I had my way, Gilmour would be in every day of the week, but I think he's going to go with Jorginho. I think he'll probably be Kepa, I suppose, and the exact same back three as you said: Rudiger, Silva, Aspi, two wing backs, Chilwell, James, like you said, and we'll have Jorginho, Kante in midfield, and then I think you got it right. Mount and Werner will be on. I think the only change, really, I think we could possibly see, and Havertz is my favourite player. I absolutely love Havertz, but I think Ziyech might get a game.
It was a coin toss, and I just had to put him in there. So
yeah. Look, I suppose with the big field and the pace that Werner has, I think Ziyech might suit it. Obviously, he can play that killer pass. We don't have that across the whole squad. Like Mount and the guys are very, very good players, but sometimes the final ball can let them down. I think Ziyech has that. So I think we may see Ziyech in there tomorrow.
And that's the thing actually as well. Just before coming on, I just looked at the stats, and what's killing us is, and everyone will agree, is the finishing. Like it's a right killer. Like I have it here beside me, and if you want to look at the second leg of the Real Madrid team, like we had 15 shots, 5 on target. Like if you want to look at the game against Arsenal, 19 shots, 5 on target.
Yeah.
It's a killer. Like
Brad's loving this, aren't you, Brad?
Yeah, I don't care too much for stats. I think people can get lost in throwing them out, especially when I always see that stats get thrown out in a losing argument.
But this is the thing. This is why I'm so nervous. It's that stat alone. It's making me worried. Like, and that's why I'm not too confident going into this. Like I said, not taking away from Leicester. Leicester are consistent side, serious team. I rated very highly. Like, but that's what's making me worried for tomorrow.
Yeah. Look, I suppose if you look kind of to the Champions League final between Chelsea and City, I know City have scored 4 tonight, but I think between the two teams, they're probably the most wasteful. They create so many chances and they miss a lot. Both of them. You see with City, with Sterling as well, misses a lot of chances. It could come into play in the Champions League final.
Look, I would ask you guys like the same sort of question that was asked to me and Chris about like, would you take top 4 or the FA Cup? But I guess your answers would be Champions League with what I'm about to say. If you could only have one, like the FA Cup or Champions League, I'm guessing if you were saying for the occasion you'd prefer Champions League, or because obviously to me I've always seen it as we've not won the FA Cup, so I think it's a bit easier as a Leicester fan. We don't have the luxury of always regulars in Champions League finals, and such. Which one would you, if you had to pick one? I'm assuming Champions League, but
top 4 all the way. Yeah, over this.
Are you on a top 4 or winning the actual Champions League final?
So yeah, I'm saying, would you rather the Champions League or the FA Cup?
No, it's Champions League. If you're on about the 2 finals, I thought you're on about top 5. On about 2 finals, Champions League all the way. Like,
yeah, because look, you qualify for next year's Champions League with that as well. But I suppose just since I was a kid, it's like obviously the Premier League. Like, I suppose some of the guys in the group chat will be slightly older. The FA Cup is huge domestically. It's a really big trophy. Like, and obviously, kind of Havertz spoke on it.
History.
Yeah. Havertz, even he's German, and he spoke about it this morning. Even when he signed for Chelsea, it wasn't the Premier League and that he talked about. It was the FA Cup. Said he used to watch it when he was a kid, and it was really big in Germany. The Germans used to love watching it, and it's such a huge competition. I can see why a lot of Leicester fans would prefer to win the FA Cup than finish in the top 4. But look, if it comes to the Champions League and FA Cup for us, it's a no-brainer. I think. I'd happily have Leicester beat us tomorrow night if it meant we win the Champions League final. And it's not. It's more than the lines of where I actually like Leicester as a club and I respect Leicester. If it was like Liverpool United, I wouldn't want to lose there. But with Leicester, if it meant we got top 4, won the Champions League, I wouldn't mind losing the FA Cup too much. Obviously, you don't want to lose anything, but if it came down to it, I'd be okay with it.
But are you saying that, with asking that question, are you saying you would take a chat? You'd obviously leave go of the Champions League for tomorrow, like that would
Me?
no, Brad, I'm on about.
Oh, Brad.
Like, for asking that question, would you obviously
you
take
top 4?
But if it was Leicester in the final as well, like, do you know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to go Champions League for the same reason I would pick the FA Cup over, when that option's run out, because for the same reason we've got even less chance. Realistically, it's quite clear we've got even less chance of winning a Champions League final. Well, first of all, making a Champions League final, let alone winning a Champions League final. I may never see that in my lifetime. I know I said that about the FA Cup when I was, for years that have gone by. But it's the same calibre, We could go the next 10 years getting knocked out in the FA Cup at the third round stage, but we could spend the next 10 years only having 2 or 3 seasons in the Champions League.
Yeah.
We could probably get Europe, but the pattern is probably Leicester are going to be the side now for the next few seasons that will be looking to make Europe a consistent, whether it's 5th, 6th, 4th, 3rd, whatever, it'll be still some form of European football.
Yeah.
But to put them to in perspective, I'm glad that the basis is, if we can't have both, go for the Champions League, because that is, as much as the history of the FA Cup is such an appeal, and like you said, it has lured players in to come to England for its history. In terms of what it brings and what the ESL would have completely dropped dead out of, because it would have just taken the spark out of, is winning the FA Cup. It's great, but beating Barcelona in Istanbul or whatever, or having the chance to think you might play a team of that caliber and beating them, you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely.
It's just that higher than, and this is no disrespect to Chelsea or Leicester, but that's more entertaining than Leicester Chelsea. From a global perspective, this will do neither team's reputation any harm at all. It'll only improve it. But on a global scale, if Chelsea win the Champions League, it'll get more publicity and noticeable and enhance your club even further than beating Leicester in the FA Cup, but coming 5th in the league.
Yeah.
The league position would almost get overshadowed if you came 5th and won it, because it'd be irrelevant.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with you there. Look, we all know kind of what the Champions League means, and getting into it every year. Obviously, just not this year. We didn't just make up the numbers. Getting to the final, we have a chance of winning it in 2 weeks' time. Look, I suppose we kind of named out how we think they're going to line up there. Just before we kind of get on to how we think it's going to go and results and finish up, we'll do a quick combined 11 there. We'll just throw it together. Obviously, kind of Brad, you spoke about the 4-4-2. I think kind of both teams have the personnel to be able to fit in that system, so we might go with the 4-4-2. So as your keeper, who are you taking? Mendy, or I suppose it's Kepa, because we said we'll go with.
If I'm going on who's available, because apparently Mendy's actually out through injury, as such. So going on that, and for the pure fact that I don't think Mendy's not been playing in England long enough, I think Casper has to take that. I have to put Casper in there.
That's
no disrespect to Mendy, it's just the fact that he's not been there long enough, and I've not seen enough of him.
Yeah,
I don't even think Chelsea fans have seen enough of him. And Kepa, if he's in there, any scoreline's possible for us tomorrow.
Yeah. I know. Look, I completely agree. I'm a massive fan of Casper, and I'd have him in over most keepers in the Premier League. I think over the last couple of years, I've actually he'd be my top 3 or 4 keepers in the league. So I wouldn't argue with that whatsoever. I suppose left back side, around about Chilwell and Thomas. For you kind of spoke about Thomas earlier on. At this moment in time, if you're picking an 11, would you have him over Chilwell?
In a Leicester squad, yeah. As a combined 11, I can't say that Thomas is quite at that level yet. I would pick Chilwell.
Yeah, that's fair. That's what I was thinking. If Justin was available, I suppose.
If Justin was in it, wouldn't even be discussion. We'd all be
Yeah.
putting Justin in if he'd been fit for the whole season. The fact that he's purely not, and it's a shame. I would say Chilwell.
Yeah. So I suppose look, we've Casper, Chilwell. Are you in agreement with those two, Evan? So we went for Schmeichel in goal, and
definitely Schmeichel in goal. Yeah.
then left full. Then
Do you know what? I'll agree. Do you know what? I will agree. Yeah.
Chilwell. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like I say, if Justin was fit, the way he was going the season before that injury, it wouldn't have been an argument. But I have to be fair. I can't go on what might become of him. I have to go on what's now. And right now, Chilwell does hold that edge.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give the side with Chilwell in it.
I suppose two centre backs. I'll go first. In my opinion, I think it's an easy one for me. I go Thiago Silva and Fofana as my two. I think Silva has been fantastic, even though he's 36 years of age. He's world class, and obviously I've spoken Fofana earlier. I think he's on the road to becoming world class as well. He's a top defender. I think he complements him very well. I suppose, look, Evan, I'll come to you on your choices for centre back.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And what you said about Silva, it's amazing what he's achieved and how old he is and where he is now at this stage. Like if Chelsea want to win Champions League final, that's another medal in his cabinet. That's insane. And I highly rate when he was at PSG and all that. I highly rated him. Brilliant through the years, and like he did get kind of a small bit of a stink this year. Like he got a bit of criticism about his age and all that. He's finished. He's going to retire soon. But look where he is and look where the other teams are. He's in the Champions League final, like with Chelsea. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and then would you have Fofana then as your other choice, or
completely. Fofana has been outstanding for Leicester. I can't see Rudiger overpowering. Like, do you know what I mean? Comparing on ability and what they've done this season, I completely get Fofana.
Yeah. Look, this Reese's comment there as well. He still thinks Thiago Silva is the top 5 centre back in the world. If you asked me to start of the year, obviously would have my doubts with his age kind of coming into the Premier League, but watching him week in, week out when he's playing, I can't get enough of him. He's so good. I think apart from, I'll stick my neck out and say, like, obviously Fofana's right up there as well, but apart from Ruben Dias, I think there hasn't been a better centre back than Silva in the league this year when he's played. Obviously he's only started 22 games in the league, but he's been fantastic. Brad, I suppose, come to you on the centre backs.
I mean, every Leicester fan you speak to and every opposition fan I've spoke to when we've done something like this on other channels, Fofana, it's a given that he's in a combined 11 like that, which does bring a smile to my face that there's no arguments in certain positions like that, because it just shows how good he's been all season. I mean, the lad was 19 when he signed, only turned 22 a couple of months ago. And he's got the football. The one thing I say about Fofana is he's 20 and he's got the footballing brain of a 34-year-old, and he plays like he's got the experience of it, which is, above and beyond. Soyuncu is still developing, and it's amazing to say that there's only a few years difference between the pair of them in how different they are. He's still susceptible to mistakes. I love Evans, but you can't argue with what Thiago Silva's done for a career. So. Begrudgingly, because I do like Evans and I would try and get him into this team. If we was going with the back three, he would get in alongside me, but we're going for the formation that I think we'll set out with. Thiago Silva alongside Fofana for me. Yeah.
Now, the next one I think is the interesting one, because I'll ask you, I actually don't know, is Ricardo Pereira fit for tomorrow? Yeah, he's back from.
He's been back from injury, but Castagne's had the reins. I did say this on our show, and I have said this to a few fans that seem to get the same thing. Unfortunately, Justin, it'll be interesting to see with his development when he comes back, because they've had the same, or at least very similar injuries, where they were out for the same amount of period. And I don't think, and it's obvious why, and it's totally understandable why, but he's not at the level. Not just fitness-wise, but I think mentally and confidence-wise, he's not fully recovered from that injury. If this was last season's Ricardo Pereira, it wouldn't be a contest.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
If I'm making a case for someone who, again, has come in and slotted in, given the role and the pressure on the role, of what he was asked to do, given the quality of Ricardo's performances before his injury. Timothy Castagne has been phenomenal at right back for me. I would push him in with a shout, but I'd love to hear your case on your right back, because that's one of the positions I haven't seen a lot of or know a lot of about the player on your right side who you'd have.
I suppose, look, like you said, that's why I said it's kind of the controversial one, because if you ask me, this time last year, Ricardo Pereira walks in. I think he's up there. He's about the best right back in the league when he was fit and he was firing. But from our side, I suppose one of my favourite players, Reece James, has been brilliant again this year. Obviously breaking into the England squad as well. I've seen Castagne play a lot for Atlanta in the past 2 years before he signed for you. But I actually liked him. He's very, very good at going forward. But look, I think once Ricardo's not fully fit and firing, I think I'd be inclined to try and push for Reece James to get in there. Obviously, respects completely that Castagne has been very good. I haven't seen as much of him as you would. Obviously, watching him week in, week out, but I would actually kind of push for Reece James in this position. But I suppose it's a matter of opinion.
Yeah. See, I'll be honest with you, this is the real first look I've had at Castagne. Just purely because I'm not the biggest follower too much outside of England. I keep eyes on results, but never really too much on performances. So when a player comes into this sort of thing, I take a bit more notice of him now with what's happened with us over the years, that some clubs have piqued my interest with younger talents. But I suppose going back to the point that was made earlier, he's kind of one of the few that have survived that transfer ban being lifted. Reece James, he's one that's managed to hold down a place in the starting 11 for Chelsea, and that's credit to him, because obviously we've seen a lot that Chelsea have gone back to the norm, if you will, with spend lots of money and the youth can go out and don't worry about it, sort of thing. So I suppose the fact that he's managed to hold that position down, and this is only the first season, and I know Wesley Fofana is only his first season, but for me, he's already one that's in a different league. You know what I mean? He's like Kante. He's in a different league in comparison to others. I would probably say, I think I'm going to win the midfield argument, so I will say Reece James can have the edge, because they're both on the perspective from fans. We both think they're pretty decent. Yeah,
they're very good options. What do you think, Evan, on this?
For me, there was no question James was getting in. Like, I think the real controversy, I know, but I think the real controversy is going to start where the sides and the two strikers. That's where I think it's really going to get heated. But for me, there was no question James was getting in there.
You might be surprised with the striker, because
the thing is, you might be surprised what I'm going to come up with, though. That's the thing. But for me, it was no question. The midfield, the in the middle, there's no question for me either. But like I said, James was for me all day. Like,
yeah,
that's fair.
Look, I suppose, Evan, since you were kind of saying there, it's no question for your midfield. Who are you going to go with your two centre midfield options?
Obviously, it's Kante is always there, and with the way I was talking about him today, Ndidi, it was always going to be Kante and Ndidi, 100%.
That's fair.
As much as I like Maddison, I mean, obviously, because we're making a combined 11 and not really so much a starting 11. I'm not trying to build a Leicester team between them. I would the two in the midfield. It's got to be Kante and Ndidi.
Ndidi, I knew there'd be no argument there. Like,
in a perfect world, I'd shepherd like Maddison or Tillemans onto the right and say he's going to switch on attack. But as a combined 11, them two hands down.
Yeah, them two hands down. Yeah, easily. I think if you kind of stretched it to a third centre midfielder, you kind of have your argument between like Kovacic and Tielemans or something. But I go
Tielemans all day long. I like Mount, but he's not as much as the hype. I just go Tielemans all day long if you want to free. But I'm happy to leave it at 2 and take that.
Yeah. Now, I suppose, look, the left and right mids, like if it's in a 4. Obviously, I don't think. Obviously, you have Harvey Barnes. I think that Barnes is actually a very good player. But apart from that, I think the options in both squads, like, they might actually suit more kind of attacking midfield and out on right and left midfield.
Yeah.
I think so. Like Chelsea don't have that many wingers, and Leicester have, like, obviously Ayoze Perez has played out there, and Harvey Barnes is very good. But I suppose if you're going to pick two cams, like you have Madison,
Yeah,
you
tuck
got
him in, like, I think
yeah,
they'd
Mount,
be better
Havertz,
off.
Ziyech. What two would you go with, Brad? I'll go with your choice first.
Interesting. That's
You
quite
can
a
fit
different
Madison now.
perspective.
You can fit
No,
Madison now. Go on.
I'd still pick Youri Tielemans over Madison.
Yeah.
I just would. I have to admit, there's a little bit of personal bias towards Madison, towards Tielemans, because I think he's more suited to the atmosphere of the club. I think some antics with Madison have lost him a lot of points in my head. Still a very good centre attacking midfielder, but this is where interesting that you've changed it to two cams, which does make more sense. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But could I then find a way to get all three in? Can I throw Tammy Abraham in there?
Do you like
That
Tammy?
it messes with my attack, but yes, I want him to replace Vardy.
I had a feeling when you said that it's not going to be like the striker's going to be a bit of a surprise at you. I had a feeling it was going to be Vardy. He hasn't really kind of kicked on the second half of the season.
No, but granted to him, he's 34, still hasn't come in place. And it's no disrespect to the name of Jamie Vardy. I'd never do that. But I like to try and build these squads thinking, if I could have this 11, that's what I would have. And that's for 3 or 4 years' time. And I like the idea of Tammy Abraham being a Leicester player next season. If the 40 million rumours are true, I would take him.
That's
for exactly the reason I said. If I can throw him as a centre attacking mid, I would go with him and Youri Tielemans. I'm sorry, but I would have him behind my strike force, and that's the only way I can explain. Whilst I'd go with Abraham, in a combined 11.
Like, everyone's kind of talking about West Ham and Aston Villa going for Tammy, but I can actually see Leicester making a move because, obviously, like you said, Vardy is Asian. You might need another striker there. Obviously, you'd be Nacho, but one striker, if Vardy is kind of pushing on, isn't enough. Like, and look, to be honest with you, I'd actually, not in a bad way, I'd be happy to see sign Tammy because it's kind of like, obviously coming through the youth and being at Chelsea all his life, it's kind of, it hurts a small bit to see him kind of push to the side and not playing games. I don't think he's ready to lead the line for Chelsea yet, but he definitely will. He has the potential, but I'd actually like to see him getting a move to Leicester and play week in, week out. I think he'd easily bang in 15 or 20 a year in the league with a team as good as Leicester.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's my centre attacking midfield and centre attacking midfielders I'd go for, because that now changes up my strike force.
Yeah. Evan, your two cams
in my head.
Like Brad, you kind of caught me out with the cams now because obviously there's a lot of choose from Mount, Havertz, Ziyech,
Pulisic can play there. Yeah,
he can, but I'm not gonna put him in. I'm not I can tell you that now for a fact. He's not going in cam for me anyway. See, I still have to think about the two up front, and which rules out a definite one for me. So I think what I'm going to do is put in Mount and see. I definitely want Mount in there anyway, and I think I'm going to go with. It is hard for me, but I think I'm going to go with Werner. So I am.
No,
I think I'm going to go with Werner because he has a push forward, have the pace. I know his finishing is a touchy thing, and that's why he isn't up top for me. But if I had the two sides, like I was saying, he was definitely going on the left, or on the right. And he, like, if I had my way, if I was there, they'd be an interchangeable switching back and forth between strikers.
Come on, meet me halfway. I tell you what, I'll take out Abraham from the cam, but pick between Mount and Werner, and we'll go with Youri Tielemans as the cam. There's no way you're taking over that mid. There's no way you dominate that midfield. I'm sorry.
I'm not taking.
You're not having Werner as a centre attacking midfielder. He's an out striker.
If you heard my strike force, I think you'll have a bit of leeway on me. I think
Right.
I think
All right,
you'll
go on then.
understand.
Let's hear that. Let's hear that for the
Brad.
case and rest. Go on.
No,
Go on.
well, Sean
So
wanted to say
I
something.
heard my name mentioned. I was like,
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't wait.
Sorry, yeah. I was actually going to meet you halfway with the cams, because of the kind of Reece James right back situation. Obviously, I think Reece should be in there, and you agreed with it. Like, so, look, if we were playing with wingers, I'd have Werner on the wing
Yeah,
all day every week. But
See, that's where I was initially thinking. I'll be honest with you.
like I was saying, we were all in agreement Werner would have been on the wing, but the fact that it was changed up to centre attacking, I still want him in there.
But my
Well,
argument
then
is,
you're losing Mount. There's no way you're having him on the other side. Could you imagine them two with Yuri?
yeah, so basically, what I was thinking, right, the two cams, I think Mount definitely has to be in there, and
100%.
I was going to give you Tielemans, right, a cam. But the reason why I said I'll definitely give it to you is because we're going to be playing with two strikers, and I think Werner plays up front in a two. And I think what Werner does now, obviously he's missed a few big chances this year, but with the pace he has and obviously the pressing and that he does, he reminds me so much of Jamie Vardy when he's younger years.
Oh.
Just like obviously years ago when Leicester played against kind of teams, they couldn't play the high line. Like teams that play the high line usually might not want to play it against Leicester. I think Werner brings that to the table, especially like in Champions League with teams that play high lines. I think Werner can bring that to the table. I'm gonna go Mount anyway. I think Mount has to be in there. I agree with Evan.
100%.
I give you Yuri Tielemans in there at the expense of that position. Like,
I think if you left winger, I'd have to hold my hands up because we're struggling on them sides of Harvey Barnes. I'd probably swap into the right, but because it's Cam, I just can't envision Timo Werner doing a job there. But Mount, not with Mount. Yuri Tielemans, you've got to just have him in there. I'm sorry, he is. He's an unsung hero behind Maddison. Maddison gets the papers, but the plaudits from the fans go to Yuri Tielemans.
He does have a strong case for me, and it was a toss-up between Havertz, Werner, and considering what my two front are, it was a toss-up between Werner, Havertz, and Tielemans. But considering, I'm just looking at pure on what Havertz can do, push forward. He likes push forward. He is a natural striker, like, and I'm all thinking about going forward from what I have up front. But
well, what did you have up front then?
Ivy Nacho and Vardy.
I tell you what, in your 11, I'll give you credit for that. Fair dues, because
that's why I have Hazard. That's why Hazard. That's why I have Werner. That's why I have Werner. That's why I have Werner centre attacking, and what you do is rotate. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is why I had Werner.
See. Funny enough, that's why I wanted to get. This is where you'll understand why I put Abraham as the cam to fit him in, because until it was changed from what I thought was going to be left wing, right wing, I had Abraham as he'd have to go up front, and maybe I could put Werner on the left.
Yeah.
Because I will confess here, when there was rumours of Timo Werner 2 years ago, apparently moving to another team that was sort of in the same bracket as us. I can't remember who it was, but I vaguely remember. I think they were linked with Fansite or something. He might have been. Maybe I'm just imagining it, but I remember seeing him, like everybody talking about him, and there was rumours he could go to Bayern Munich. He'd go, where would he go after Leipzig and all that? And I remember saying, if he's got any form of value where they're only going to let him go on the cheap, we should have gone in for him. I was gutted when to take him before the hype.
Touch on a comment there that came in. Where's Havertz actually, guys? I like Havertz as false line. That's it. Well, like I said, it was a toss up. And what came down for me is going forward a striker. All I see is I want goals. Going for goals with the team I'm trying to build here.
Like,
I would go with for future. I would go with. That's why I went with Abraham. With Tielemans, because I would generally go with Iheanacho, and either Abraham and Werner up front if it was like more of a 3, but because it's a 2, it allows me to actually go with the 3 strike forwards. You know,
but
I could
that's
use
what
that
I'm
and
saying.
go with
Like
Werner,
I wanted
collection.
that reinsurance. I wanted 3 strikers in, like, so that's why I went. I could easily went Vardy and, do you know what I mean? And it would have been uproar then without you hearing
Yeah.
it. Do you know what I mean? But it just seemed more fitting to put Werner in.
My thinking was, like, I agreed with Mount and Tielemans at Cam, and my front 2, I don't have any Leicester boys in. I went for Havertz Werner as the front 2.
I thought you were going to say Giroud there for a minute.
No. I think Havertz and Werner up front together would be very effective. Havertz
I'm sorry, but in future, I maybe see Timo Werner and Havertz as a great partnership. You cannot tell me this season, in comparison to at least in the outro, they can't make a combined 11.
Yeah, no,
Chelsea forward, they'd be interesting, but Chelei has to be in that. If it's 3, you'd outnumber us. I'm not saying you wouldn't, but
it's fair. Yeah. The form definitely Iheanacho.
Yeah,
if
you're going on, if we're going to pick this off form, you're right. In the future, you're probably saying them 2 are going to become better than the Iheanacho, and that's no disrespect to Iheanacho, who's having a season. But on this season, this team, he is. To be fair, Giroud is like the granddad of football. I don't know how, credit to him, but to the clubs he's played at that level.
He's a super sub.
He is. He's brilliant for it. But off this season, I would be happy to go Werner and Nacho.
Look, I'd agree with it. Like, Havertz, like I said earlier on, is definitely he's my favourite player by far. Love Havertz, and but obviously this year, like you've seen, he kind of had COVID settling into a new country and everything. He's played well now the last couple of weeks, but it's fair enough if you want Iheanacho in there. I'll agree with Iheanacho. I'd be happy to put him and Werner up front.
That'd be powerful.
I just want to get this straight, because I wrote my team down. Like, what we're in the difference is I have Vardy and Iheanacho up front and Werner in attacking. And you have Nacho and Havertz. Is it?
Iheanacho and Werner up front, but we have Tielemans in
instead of,
as we're saying, instead of who are you on about there? We took out Vardy. We took out Vardy for Tielemans. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And just kind of shuffled around.
The argument for Vardy for me was, I'm not basing him just off this season. I know you probably are, but I just think he has been consistent through the years. Yeah, small bit of a niggle here this year, but that's where the Vardy came in for top for me. Like,
yeah, that's fair enough.
I mean, I have to give credit to Vardy. A lot of focus is on his goals, but this season, the way he's adapted to being out of form and being rusty in front of goal, he's very impressive. I mean, I would argue to the hills that he will go down as a world-class striker.
Oh, without
what he does for the game. But he's just, I'm trying to go off. I can see something about Werner that has, I'd say, a soft spot for him, because he's always one of them players that you saw whispers of him going to clubs that weren't linked like Chelsea or Arsenal or Spurs, but he was linked with whispers of teams like us coming in. And I always wanted him, and I was kind of gutted that we didn't make a move for him. And then obviously when he had that rip-roaring seasons with Leipzig, he really impressed me. And I know this season he's taken a brunt of abuse and banter from fans, but I know that there's something about him that says he's going to be a really class player, if not up there in years to come.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. He does have to make this team, just not as a cam for me. That's the only reason I argued for it, because I'd agreed with you on the left wing. I'd have put him there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If we were doing the left and right, do you know what I mean?
Because I'd have put Barnes on the right. I'd have sacrificed Barnes and put him on the right in that team, personally, if that was the way. As a defence, you know what I mean? Like to try and put a Leicester player on.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I am going to have to stand right. I don't agree with Talisman in there. I'm going to have to stick with our Talisman. Yeah, I'm going to have to stick with Werner and Cam, Vardy and Iheanacho up front. But if it was out in the wing, like I said, like I was saying before, when you switched to two cams, that's where it did get complicated for me. Like,
yeah. I know. Look, like the lads were saying earlier on, it's a game of opinions. Like, so it's fair enough. Like, there's good arguments in there for any of the players you kind of mentioned.
I wouldn't begrudge either side being picked if someone said for us, would you?
At the end of the day, someone's going to have to get left out, and it is a tough front, like, do you know what I mean? Because there is talent there to be spared.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I suppose that's the combined 11 put together. Just to kind of finish up then, we'll just see how we think the game is going to go tomorrow if we're confident, and just kind of give, I suppose, a scoreline prediction. So we can kind of look back, see if anyone's getting the spot on, or go to you first, Evan. How do you see it going tomorrow?
I can really see with the way Chelsea have surprised me, like coming off the back foot of a loss to Arsenal and thinking about what's in the future, what's coming up. I really would like to see. Credit to Leicester. I think they will score tomorrow, so I am predicting a 2-1 win Chelsea.
Yeah. Look, I'll give mine next. I was actually going to go for a 2-1 myself. I think it's going to be tight enough. A tight enough game. Leicester are going to definitely put it up to Chelsea. Leicester are a very good side. We've seen them beat a lot of big teams this year. I think for me, I'm kind of confident going into tomorrow after defeat against Arsenal, but it's the game on Tuesday I'm not confident about in the league. I just think playing them twice in the space of a couple of days, I don't think it's going to bode too well. But tomorrow, look, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Chelsea. It's going to be a very, very tight game. Brad, what way are you going to go tomorrow? Obviously, you'd like to see Leicester lift that cup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be exciting and cagey at the same time. I think there's some interesting battles that no doubt Sky will spend 45 minutes blighting over with the likes of, I think Ndidi and Kante, who does their job better. Is going to be pivotal. There's the threats up front. If Werner has his shooting boots on, he can be a handful. Both defences on the day can be really good, and on the day they can be really bad. So I think the defence it kind of can cancel each other out in a sense. But I just got this feeling. I've just got this feeling that it's the way the season's gone, and I've had feelings all through the season, like before we played Man City away, not at home. When we played Manchester United, and I've got a feeling about Saturday. Maybe it's because I've never experienced an FA Cup final myself, but I just think we'll if we can get that lead, you have to come at us, and I see us just getting a 2-0 scoreline. I honestly find it'll be one of them results that's not a major shock, but you'll be surprised because you're expecting goals from both sides.
Yeah.
But I think it will be a great encounter. I really do.
Yeah. I know it should definitely be a good game, and look, I hope for our sakes and Chris's sake as well, and I suppose all the neutrals that we actually get a good game tomorrow. A good FA Cup
and then
final.
You can go and beat Man City. Then you can just go and beat Man City.
Yeah.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
I think it's written in the stars. So look.
Yeah. Well, Manchester United couldn't live up to their after deal when we beat them and they played Liverpool. So as long as you can not do what they did, happy days.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, look, really appreciate you coming on, Brad. Same with Chris as well. It was really good to have you on.
Yeah,
obviously, Chris's second time been on, and obviously your first. Really, really enjoyed it. It was a good show, and then obviously again, Evan's first show with us here at the Weekly Armchair Kickoff. It's been
hopefully
an
more
hour.
to come.
Yeah, no, definitely more to come. I say we'll definitely be seeing more than Evan, guys. The guys in the comments. Obviously, you've been on here an hour and 40 minutes. The guys on the Devil Advocate show for the Weekly Armchair had a show on before us, so make sure you can catch up with that as well. Obviously, a big up to Leicester Till I Die. Everyone that's watching and in the comments. Obviously, we had a big following from Leicester Till I Die in the comments tonight. But anyone who hasn't already, make sure to like and subscribe to the guys' channel. There's some great content on there. Make sure you go over and watch it. Yeah, definitely, 100%. And make sure you follow the guys on Twitter. Brad, do you want to shout out your Twitter handle there, maybe, to the viewers?
Yeah, if I can remember it, I always forget it. I drew it together years ago, and I always forget it.
Yeah, look, guys.
It's probably something like at full-time focus. I think it is. I think
It
it's
is,
at
yeah.
full-time focus. So,
But look, guys, anyone that wants to follow Brad, obviously you'll see it in the tweets. The Weekly Armchair has about the show. Anyone that can use the link there to come, Brad's that'll be in there, and so will Chris's. Make sure to drop the guys a follow. Like I said, subscribe to the show, and most importantly, again, like Brad actually touched on earlier, make sure you like and subscribe to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff. We appreciate all of the support you give us, and then the comments and making sure you're getting involved in all the shows. We really appreciate it, and hope everyone has a good Friday and a good weekend. And we look forward to the game tomorrow. Thanks, William, for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks so much.